Hi, my name is David Lang. In this presentation, I'll be talking about test-driven development for databases. So the rationale behind this as a style of database development goes back to what we've learned from in other forms of development over the last few years, and that is that test-driven development, the red-green refactor style development, is an excellent way to reduce bug counts and end up with a nice automated test suite after we're done writing our code. So in this presentation, I'm going to be showing a technique for how one can bring this style of development to creating your database schema. Now this style of development, red-green refactor cycle, ends up with the following benefits when we develop our database schema in this way. The first one is that we end up with an automated test suite that tests all of the logic contained within our databases. And the reason we want this is so that when future developers come to work on the code, or even ourselves in a couple of months' time when we've forgotten what the code is supposed to do, it enables us to instantly run a regression test to prove that the changes we've made haven't broken any existing functionality. So this stops the fear that often surrounds older projects where no one knows what they're supposed to do, so everyone's afraid to make any changes in case some unknown functionality breaks. The second benefit that this style of development gives us is that we get a version-controlled database schema, and that allows concurrent development while multiple developers working at the same time, but with their own isolated development environment. You also get some benefits, like you can tell who made what change when, and so on and so forth. And finally, your databases can now be included into your continuous integration environments. So basically, every time a change is made, the database is rebuilt and all the automated tests run against it. So this means, and it's done in a standard way on a standard machine. So when your development machine gets rebuilt, or you move and someone else has to take over the project, all that knowledge as to how the software gets built and tested isn't lost because it's on your machine and in your head. It's something that everyone can pick up and understand. Alright, so the first piece of infrastructure that we need to enable test-driven development in databases is some kind of build infrastructure. Now I'll be showing you how this can be done using the Visual Studio for Team System Database Edition, but the technique that Visual Studio Database Edition implements is very simple to replicate in other environments. The technique is basically this. All of your schema objects, your stored procedures, your tables, and so forth, you create a SQL script for each one to create it. Then you create a build script that will amalgamate all of these scripts into one big script and run that against a database server to create an empty database. And then, of course, you check those schema creation scripts into your source control system, so they can then be checked out by the developers or checked out by the continuous integration system. So let me show you how this works in the Visual Studio environment. So here I have a project, a Visual Studio project, and in that project I have a project for my database called tradelog.db. Now this project has a collection of folders into which I place SQL scripts to create different kinds of schema. So here under the tables folder I have a simple create tables SQL script which is going to create my create a table, and you can see that there's places for separate places for stored procedures and so forth. And then there's a build script behind the scenes written in MS Build that allows that when you run it, basically combines all of these SQL scripts from the different directories into one big SQL scripts and then deploys it against the database. There's a bit more magic in there, but that's the basic gist of how the system works. So here I have just compiled the project and deployed it to my local database server, and you'll see that the table defined in the create script now exists inside the database.